PROTECT2233, a quick summary for busy parents who are unable to make the presentation.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Derrick and I'm the author of Only For Me. For those that weren't able to attend the PROTECT2233 presentation last night, this is just a really quick summary. The key message from last night is that we absolutely have to have protective behaviour conversations with our children from a really young age, and that this needs to be a conversation that evolves over time. So it's not a one-off conversation, it's a conversation that we need to revisit as our children grow. Firstly, I'm going to tell you about the events that occurred right here in the Southern Shire that inspired me to write the book. So it was about 3.5 years ago. I went out for dinner with some mums, and on that night I heard about 2 cases in our immediate community where young children had actually been abused by children their own age. In the first case, it was the school holidays, and the family had been at a park with another family for a play date, and on the way home, the little boy, who was 7 years old, told his mum that his friend had actually been touching him inappropriately while they were at the park. Now, the critical thing about this particular case is that the other family had shared with this mother a few months before that they'd actually discovered their little boy accessing pornography on his iPad. Now, whilst this family actually thought that they had dealt with that situation, they weren't aware of the fact that he was actually acting out because of it. The second scenario was very similar. The 2 families were walking home from school, and they decided to stop at a park. When one of the boys needed to go to the toilet, he was aged 9, his mum said, "Okay, but take your friend with you." When the boys took a little bit longer than usual, the mother's intuition kicked in, and it was absolutely shocking when she raced over to the toilets and opened the door and discovered that her 9-year-old was actually being abused by his 9-year-old friend. I actually don't know the details of the history of that little boy, but from the information that I was given, it's very likely that that boy was a victim of abuse himself. For me, as a mother of 4, when I heard these stories, I was really shocked, because it made me realise that no matter how diligent you are as a parent, you can't be with your children all the time, and particularly in light of the fact that abuse can even come from a children's own peers, we actually have a responsibility to our kids to empower them with the knowledge that their body is private and they have a right to protect that privacy.
These statistics were actually taken from the Australian Criminology's website, and they're actually conservative for 2 reasons. The first being that these are actually only reported cases of sexual abuse. So we know that there is so much more that goes on that is never ever reported to the police. The second reason is that these statistics only take into account children up to the age of 15. Many other statistics that you will hear will actually include children up to the age of 18. So sadly, 12% of females and 4.5% of males report having been sexually abused before the age of 15 years. Now, for me, I had to put this in context. This means that in an average primary school class of 22 kids, 2 girls and 1 boy will report being sexually abused before the age of 15 years. We'll now break down those statistics. So only in 11% of these cases, the child was actually abused by a stranger, which means the remaining 89% of these cases, the child was actually abused by someone that they knew. In 45% of cases, they were abused by a relative. This could be a parent, a step-parent, grandparent, sibling, uncle, auntie, or cousin. And in 47% of cases, they were abused by a friend, a neighbour, acquaintance, or were otherwise known to them. Now, these stats don't actually add up to 100% exactly, because some of the perpetrators actually fit more than one category.
Now, you might be thinking that these statistics actually don't apply to you and your family. You might be thinking that perhaps they're being skewed by different socioeconomic groups, different cultural groups, perhaps areas of a very high crime rate. The reality is that childhood sexual abuse cuts across all demographics of society, and our children are just as vulnerable as any other children in Australia. Even though these statistics are very frightening, the good news is that we actually have the opportunity to teach our children that their body is private and that they have a right to protect their privacy, and also to provide them with scenarios that predators might actually use during the grooming and seduction process, so that they will actually know when something isn't appropriate. They will actually realise that they have the opportunity to come and tell us when something doesn't feel right. So now we're going to look at the reasons that we really need to do this with children from a very young age.
So why do we need to have these conversations with our children from a young age? Only For Me is designed for children from 3 to 8 years of age, and I do recommend that you begin protective behaviour conversations with your children as early as possible. The first reason is so it becomes a natural and normal part of your relationship. If many of you were brought up the way that I was, it's not until you were 11 or 12 that our parents spoke to us about our bodies and personal development. And by that stage, it was something that became a little bit awkward and embarrassing for both parent and child. But when we speak to our children from a young age, it becomes natural and normal. The second reason it's important to speak to our children from a young age is because the most vulnerable age for children to be exposed to sexual assault is between the ages of 3 and 8 years of age. The third reason is because we now know that abuse can even be perpetrated by a child's own peers. And in actual fact, Braveheart's now claiming that around 30 to 60% of childhood sexual abuse is perpetrated by other children and young people up to the age of 18. The fourth reason is so that our children feel able to disclose when something or someone makes them feel uncomfortable. We all know that knowledge is power, and so if our children understand what types of behaviours are inappropriate and we can foster open and direct conversations with them, then there is a greater chance that they will seek us out and tell us when something or someone is making them feel uncomfortable. Finally, it's important because this conversation needs to evolve over time. It is not something that you can cross off your list, but something that you must revisit with your child as they grow and as circumstances change. The information that I provide to my 3-year-old is of course very different to the information that I give my 7-year-old. So I encourage you all to continue to have these conversations with your child as they grow.
Thanks everyone for listening today. I ask that you share this with your friends and family so that together as a community we can protect our precious children.
For further information, you can go to onlyforme.com.au. To see a list of the critical information that your child needs to know, click on the Summary tab. For anyone who is concerned about a child, click on the About tab and then the Sexual Abuse Facts and Info page to view a list of signs and symptoms indicating that a child may have been abused and to find out who to speak to about your concerns. To see how Only For Me teaches children the information that they need to know while still protecting their innocence, click on the Preview tab. Only For Me can also be purchased at onlyforme.com.au for $15.95 including delivery Australia-wide. For those families located in the 2233 postcode, remember to use the coupon code issued by your child's daycare or preschool to receive delivery. Pay just $11.95. Please note, coupon codes expire on Saturday the 16th of September. Finally, please know that 100% of all royalties on any sales of Only For Me will be donated to Act for Kids and Bravehearts. Thank you.